On this episode of the Cover 4 podcast, the guys look at Lamar Jackson's situation as he requests a trade out of Baltimore. Welcome to the Cover 4 podcast. That's Bradshaw, that's Luca, that's Jeff, I'm Nolan. Not a ton to touch on in the NFL world. No other massive free agent signings. Odell Beckham Jr. still hasn't signed. I guess, other news in the NFL is that players can now wear number 0.
Ooh.
It should be fun for some teams. But probably the big news that's kind of been the whirlwind and kind of always been that pocket card for all the NFL news has been what is going to go on with Lamar Jackson. And now we sort of know that earlier in March, he has demanded a trade out of Baltimore. And just this past week, he announced that on social media. And now that's got everybody's heads turning, and especially Ravens fans, that they feel like, okay, he does officially want out. It doesn't matter. He doesn't matter what contract he gets. He wants out of Baltimore. And I want to start off with Jeff. Obviously, you have some in-depth thoughts about this and how crazy it's been that a former MVP isn't getting some of the respect around the league.
Yeah, I think in general, I think the league has completely just not properly evaluated Lamar Jackson's value, in my opinion. There's obviously some other factors which I'll quickly get into, but when you look at Lamar Jackson, like you just said, former MVP, how many times do you see that guy on the market? It's not very often. And the fact that the Baltimore Ravens can't see the value that he that he is bringing to their team and how far the drop-off could potentially be without him, it's insane to me that you wouldn't keep him, because I think a lot of other players realistically too, even other quarterbacks might be talented and like maybe sufficient and everything like that. I'm not sure they could do a lot with the Baltimore Ravens team with basically no receivers other than Mark Andrews and an offensive line that's kind of decaying, honestly. When I look at Lamar, like that's a guy that can carry a team and has shown that he can carry a team. That's what he did this past year before injury, then eventually deciding to sit out. And then the year prior where the team was decimated by injuries and he was putting on some great performances. And then you just see, other GMs coming out and saying, well, the Browns kind of messed up the market, but it's like, I mean, if we're just going to talk about markets, like you're the only one who's setting the market. Like that's on you, man. Like you guys can do whatever you want with your money. And this guy is going to give you a chance at a Super Bowl, no matter what team. And we've seen all the suitors, the Falcons, the Colts, whatever. I think he easily puts any of them in a Super Bowl contention kind of race and everything like that. And the idea that you wouldn't just guarantee him money is crazy to me, because it is just pocket change to them. But to them, it's like, oh, we got to set this precedent about him and all that. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And also I would say too, that like the idea that he isn't durable, like I will like bang the table about this. Lamar Jackson isn't exactly like not durable. He is very durable in my opinion. I think he does do a lot of, I don't think he really gets hurt that much if we're being completely honest. And it's just crazy to me that like you have a guy that can change the fortunes of your franchise, that getting him in the building alone, like maybe other than the Ravens, if let's say he went outside of the Baltimore Ravens organization, he went to say the Falcons or the Washington Commanders, immediately you get that money back in jersey sales. Immediately you get that money back in all the merchandising you can do with him, or the butts that you're going to put in seats. The idea that like you're going to be overspending, like that's crazy. And then also too, I mean, we've seen what the Saints have done. Like, you can't restructure stuff. Are they the only team that knows how to restructure? No, of course they don't. They're not the only one. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's just to me, it's like a big, like, ego battle with all the owners and Lamar Jackson just wanting his money, wanting his guaranteed money for a sport that is very dangerous, that is going to leave him probably pretty hobbled by the end of his days. And I think that's completely fair that he asked for that. And I'm happy that he's standing his ground, to be honest with you. And look, at the end of the day, I think we will see Lamar Jackson play for an NFL team. I don't know if he's going to get his money. I don't know if he's going to break eventually, but no matter what team he's playing for, that team is going to be in the playoffs. That team is going to be in contention for a Super Bowl, and he changes your odds dramatically. And I think it's just a huge mistake by NFL owners not evaluating him properly.
Yeah, a lot to unravel there, but I obviously agree completely with you. And, I'm sure we can start with, I guess we can all talk about all of our teams and our quarterback situations because, once this news came out, I think all of us were kind of had the thought of potentially scrambling to go and get him. But yeah, for the Ravens' sake, at this point it's a joke. Like you guys won your Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, and then a few years later you were just in mediocrity, and then here comes Lamar MVP season, and of course, it was a tough postseason. Obviously, they looked bad against that Titans team, and then the following year finally they beat that Titans team, but they haven't gotten to the level where they want to be, and maybe that's just been there. He hasn't been supported by the right cast, right? Like these receivers have been horrible that he's played with. It's been an absolute joke. But the fact that they don't want to pay him, that kind of blows my mind. And they're fine going to whatever quarterback's going to be left. So whoever they take in the draft, I suppose. And you look at a team like Atlanta, and Bradshaw, I'd like you to comment on this as well. Is I feel like they aren't as desperate. Obviously, I'm sure they'd want to go all in and get a superstar quarterback too, but they're just getting off all these horrible contracts they had and just getting off all the money that they had tied up with people. And it's not like I think the Colts make the most sense because you think they've been in quarterback hell since Andrew Luck retired. Like it's been a disaster. Sure, they got to the playoffs with Phillip Rivers, but that was because their defense was actually pretty special too. Like Atlanta had Matt Ryan's MVP year, fizzled out, a couple playoff runs, and then it was kind of bad. Since then, I think they have to see what they have in Desmond Ridder before spending a crap ton of money. I think, Bradshaw, you can comment too. I didn't like Arthur Blank's comments, though, after why he wasn't going to go for Lamar and saying, oh, he's a running quarterback. It's like, I don't know when Blank became the owner. It was like, well, you also made the move to get a running quarterback, and that put the NFL on fire, getting Michael Vick. Mm. And of course, Vic had his situations off the field that kept him from, that made them go get another quarterback. But if he got Lamar in there, man, like Atlanta becomes on fire again, and they're a hothouse for just, all the fandom in the NFL. But there's other reasons to why they wouldn't go for Lamar, right, Bradshaw? It's mostly just they kind of have to see what they have in house.
I think that's mainly what they're looking at. And one of the Atlanta beat writers, forgive me, I don't remember his name. He had an article talking about why the Falcons aren't really, and like their pursuit of Lamar or lack thereof. And he made it kind of sound like it wasn't really Arthur Blank's decision not to go for him. It was kind of Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith's, which makes more sense because I don't know why Arthur Blank wouldn't want a guy who he has this massive stadium that he struggles to fill on Sundays when the Falcons play. He knows that Lamar Jackson's going to put, like Jeff said, they put butts in seats. I don't think he's the reason why they're not going after him. I think it's more Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith have a plan for what they want. And I guess either Lamar Jackson doesn't fit that plan financially, I guess, because he sure would. I think he would really fit it in terms of stylistically. I get both sides. I get why there's a huge section of the Falcons fan base that says we need Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's going to help us compete right away. But I also see the section of the Falcons fan base and apparently the Falcons front office that's like, well, we want to build the team a different way. We want to build the team around the quarterback, and then when it's time, either it's Desmond Ridder, or if Desmond Ridder sucks, we can go to 2024 and draft a guy, or we can pick up the next available big name quarterback. The problem is how many of these big name quarterbacks become available? How many guys like Lamar Jackson, 26 years old, former MVP, how many times are you going to get a guy like this available? And the other thing is, you see all these excuses for, I think at this point we need to stop the whole idea of, people don't get how good Lamar Jackson is. I don't think that's the point. I think teams know how good he is. I genuinely think the belief is that he just won't hold up over time. I think that's really what they're holding on to. And, he's missed 12 games over the last 2 seasons combined. I get why they're looking at it like that. But the problem is, again, how many times are you getting a 26-year-old former MVP to come on the market? You got to take, there are going to be flaws with every guy. No player is the perfect player. Some guys you got to are just worth investing in. Lamar Jackson's worth investing this kind of money into because he's really, really good. And you guys know that. You're just looking for excuses to not pay him. So I get both sides of why the Falcons would or would not go after Lamar Jackson. I personally haven't really made a decision. I don't really know which side I would prefer, considering he's my favorite player in the NFL. So I would certainly love him to be my favorite team. But I think it's a very complicated. I think it's a more complicated situation than people are kind of making it out to be. But I also think it's also not that complicated, and that just he's really good, and someone should pay him at some point.
And Luca, your thoughts too, that now there's some news cycling that Lamar wanted to join the Patriots. That was, a rumor that was swirling around.
Thanks to Meek Mill.
Yeah. Well, that was another, and I saw another beat reporter kind of mentioned that as well. your thoughts realistically on that happening, and you know, like, because I just don't understand why New England. I understand you have the history there, but not close to home. The roster is improving. Is it just because of Belichick? It's very confusing.
Realistically, it's not happening. Let's just be real.
Right on.
Belichick's not doing that. Like he's just doesn't see, I think they already said that they're out on him. I feel like every team has said that, and we've heard it in the past, teams saying, "Oh, we're out on him," and then 2 weeks later they trade for him. So it could be a smokescreen. Don't think it is. I don't think Lamar Jackson is coming to New England anytime soon. Would he help the team? Obviously, I think he would help 25 teams in the National Football League, if maybe like 27, if you don't have a top 5 guy. So I think, yeah, I mean, if you're a team like Washington or a team like Brad said, maybe like if the Falcons want to go for him, any team like that where I think the roster is right there, I think they should be all over it. I mean, I'm not sure how it works with the exclusive franchise tag. And they got to give away 2 first-round picks. Can they match all this stuff? If 2 first-round picks is the asking price, I don't know why not. I'm telling you, 25 teams should be on the phone and trying to work out a deal. And I get the money, but that's the market. It's a quarterback-driven league. It's one of the most important positions in all of sports. So if you want to pay a guy $50 million again, we're projecting here, in 5 years, he might not even be the highest paid quarterback because there's going to be other quarterbacks, Burrow, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, if they go into their organization and say, hey, we want $50 million, I have a very, very hard time believing those teams are going to make those guys walk. I have a very hard time believing that. So Lamar might not even be a top 3 paid quarterback by the time those guys have extensions. Jalen Hurts, I didn't even mention. Is he a running quarterback? Yeah. Is Philly going to pay him? Absolutely, they're going to pay him. So I get it. It's concerning because he's been hurt. And I feel like the NFL is trying to bring back down the market of quarterbacks after Deshaun Watson kind of broke it last offseason, right? I think Cleveland kind of screwed everybody over, all the front offices. And now they're trying to, okay, listen, that shouldn't be the market. But I think that's eventually where it's going to go because the money's going to keep going up. The demand for quarterbacks in the league are going to keep going up. I think we're at a time now where we've had more elite quarterbacks than we have in recent years. Like you could say there's a legit 8 guys that you can be like, okay, like those are franchise guys maybe, and Lamar fits that category. Like Lamar's in that category. I just don't understand why not every team that does. If you're not the Chiefs, the Bills, or any of the 4 teams I just named, you should be all over it, all over this guy because I think he has an absurd record of like 45-16. Like he wins football games. He wins, and yeah, okay, playoff success. Every quarterback, you can't expect every quarterback to be Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, who's going to set out absurd, playoff records and go to the AFC Championship. It's just not realistic. But he's a very good quarterback. He'll put butts in the seats, like Brad and Jeff said. He'll get you to a playoff, even maybe home field. Maybe he can get a number 1. I don't know. But I just think there should be more teams lining up, especially the team in the NFC, which really that conference isn't the greatest right now. And that's probably, if there were going to be a trade, they'd probably prefer trading him to the NFC. I don't know why more NFC teams aren't lining up. I don't know. It's a fishy situation going now in the NFL, and I don't know why more teams aren't involved.
It's also just frustrating too that we talk about is he going to be durable enough? Is it going to hold up? You already have the Bills upset with how Josh Allen runs the ball, and they want him to run less and take less hits. But that's kind of what makes Josh Allen Josh Allen. That's what makes him the player he is and helps him win games. Where okay, look at Lamar. In certain moments, when he's running the ball, he's fantastic. And I think the times he's been injured, he's been in the pocket, right? It's just he hasn't, he's got injured that way. It hasn't been him running the ball. Because guess what? No one can touch him when he's running the ball. And he does usually make the smart play, slide quickly, or just get down and kind of give himself up or runs out of bounds. And we're talking about, will he last? Look at the last couple of Super Bowl champions, right? Like, you have to make the move to get a superstar in order to win in this league. Mahomes, the quarterback for the Chiefs who won last year, he's the best in the world right now. Matt Stafford, healthy finally, right? And the Rams went all in. Look at the Rams roster now, and then look at last year when Stafford wasn't healthy. But guess what? You got a title out of it. The year before, the Bucs all in. They got the greatest quarterback of all time. And then the year before that, there's Mahomes. Hello, best in the world. And the year before that, Brady. So it's all these situations of the greatest of all time, the greatest, right now. And then Matt Stafford, a former number 1 overall pick, who has all the tools and is fully healthy and surrounded by a good supporting cast. And they went all in. Luca?
And the guy Stafford was playing in that Super Bowl, Joe Burrow, number 1 pick.
Yeah.
So you need an elite quarterback to get there.
Correct. You need if you have a chance to go all in and get the guy, you got to do it and take the risks that are willing to come with it. Does he get injured once? All right, okay, there's a lost season. But if there's that one opportunity to get a Super Bowl, that is what you're playing for, right? And some moments you got to be willing to give it all up. And you mentioned Watson, and it sucks too that I think Kirk Cousins has something to do with this as well, right? He was the one who got the first fully guaranteed, and again, that was only $84 million at the time. And
that's penny change. That's pennies right now.
Exactly, and that's for a guy who hadn't won any playoff games. And then Watson gets his guaranteed whatever. What was it? Guaranteed like $200 million or something stupid.
I think it was like 250.
Yeah, 230 or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
and that was for him coming off all these sexual, like misconduct allegations, and he gets it off of that. But then Lamar, who's done nothing wrong, well respected around the league, a former MVP. Can't get the money he's looking for, and it is just an absolute joke.
And Watson tore his ACL too, didn't he, in his rookie years or early on in his career? So he's had injury, concerns too. Like he's missed time as well.
Yep.
Watson also runs a lot too, and not only that, but he hadn't played a full year and he looked like garbage.
Yep.
What's the point of this game if you're making money? You're the biggest money-making business, at least around sports. I don't know every business, but the NFL makes money every single day of the week. So it's not like this should be a money issue, right? And again, we've seen with the Saints, I can't say enough, how the Saints and other teams obviously too mess around with the cap. What is the point of this game if not to win? What else are we doing here? What is the point, man? If you're just gonna say, oh well, he can get hurt. Yeah, you know how many quarterbacks can get hurt? All of them. What the fuck? What is this stupid shit about him getting hurt? Every quarterback gets hurt. Do something to make sure to help him not get hurt. It's a violent game. Why do we get stars if not to see them play? If he's bad, okay, I understand that. But he's a difference maker. And I think the main thing, why people want to see him on the Falcons and specific teams is because those teams have weapons. And we've never seen Lamar throw to a team with a lot of really good weapons. And it's untapped potential there too with his passing game, which means if you're so scared of him running, which Nolan said really isn't his issue in terms of getting hurt, let's see him throw more then. What the fuck are we doing? I just don't understand.
I hope in the end he gets dealt, and I would love to see it. Obviously, I think we'd all want to be like, oh, I want him to come to my team. I hope he goes to the Niners and they utilize him to the insane ability where he rushes for 1,600 yards and passes for 3,000 yards, and they just take the NFL ablaze and win a Super Bowl. Just because they've been dealing with all these quarterback injuries, and I'm sure if the money was possible, because I'm sure they're in cap hell right now just because they paid all these guys. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan would go, yeah, I once had a quarterback, when I was the OC, who was able to run the ball a ton, and then he did get injured in the pocket too. In RG3, and I think you'd like to see how that goes again. Luca?
Just on Twitter, Asante Samuels, as we're talking about Lamar Jackson, he goes, Lamar Jackson, my brother, trust me, you don't want to play for Bill Belichick. So there you go.
Asante does not like the Pats at all.
No. So there you go.
Okay, let's go around the horn quick. We'll go our realistic landing spot for Lamar Jackson as you ride or around this one out. Bradshaw, where do you think Lamar lands, if not staying in Baltimore?
I think just staying in Baltimore. I think that's the most likely scenario at this point. It just seems like that. All signs are pointing to that. It doesn't seem like any other team wants to pay up the money, so it just seems like he's going to have to find common ground with the Ravens. Mm-hmm. One other thing, really quick, we're praising Lamar a lot, and as we should. Brother, you got to stay off Twitter. You got to stop doing this. You got to stop. Yeah. You got to stop, man. You're winning. You're not winning you're winning Twitter, but you're not winning the negotiation here. You got to stop doing this. Also hire an agent. Please hire an agent. You really, I know you're I like the independence and I like trying to negotiate your own contract, but for a deal of this magnitude, like, and I know we're seeing, like, I praised Laramie Tunsil last week for like finessing the Texans multiple times without an agent. That doesn't happen all that often. If you're trying to get a big contract, you got to get an agent to like help you with this. Please hire an agent and please stay off Twitter. Maybe the agent would also tell you to stay off Twitter too. So please stop doing that. And then also come to the Falcons.
I completely agree because I feel like everybody in sports media has been like, he deserves to get paid. He deserves to go on, to a team that's going to want him and pay him the money he deserves. But Lamar, come on, you don't need to be tweeting all this stuff.
Yeah,
just be quiet, and hopefully the negotiations eventually happen. Luca, do you think he stays in Baltimore, or do you think there's a landing spot that is realistic?
Yeah, I'm with Brad. I think he stays in Baltimore. I think he had a deal on the table, like 3 years, 130 fully guaranteed, something like that. I mean, I agree with Brad. You got to stay off Twitter or go get Daniel Jones's agent. Maybe he'll pull off some miracles for you. But yeah, I think he stays in Baltimore. But a team that I would like to see go for him, which I think would make sense, would be Washington. I think that would be a good fit.
You've been banging the table for that one.
I have. Yeah.
Jeff, what about you?
I do think the most likely situation is that he does stay in Baltimore, like Bradshaw and Luca just said. But I'll go with maybe the second most likely. I was very tempted to say, that Aaron Rodgers deal looks kind of, a little messy over there. But I just think at some point that's got to happen, just because I think the Jets are just so committed. I'm sure they don't want like the firestorm of media that would come through if that didn't happen. So I'll say that the next most likely one will probably be the Colts. And I think Jim Irsay, I think Jim Irsay is dealing with some demons. And I think he's going to do something terrible and just trade a bunch of picks away or something like that for Lamar Jackson.
I'm with you. I think the Colts are the one that makes the most sense, whereas they're drafting 4th right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People are talking that they're going to trade up to 3rd just so they make sure that they get the 3rd best quarterback, but they're getting the 3rd best quarterback. Why don't you get, potentially, the 5th best quarterback in football right now, or some might even have Lamar higher. I think that would make a ton of sense, because then the Colts could be in quarterback hell again if this rookie doesn't work out. But you mentioned the Aaron Rodgers thing, and I hope this doesn't happen. Just praying to God. I wonder what the deal would be with the Jets to get Aaron Rodgers. I can't see it being 2 first-round picks. I just don't think, however old Rodgers is. But if there's a first-round pick there, and the Packers have another first-round pick, if the Packers make the deal, to go
that'd be insane.
I would love it.
Jordan Love would retire. Like he would just be like,
all right, we're done here.
At that point, I wonder if they would include him in that deal. But
I think the Ravens would probably ask for something like that.
That's a little far fetched, but I would scream if that happened.
So funny.
That would be quite the FU to the NFL to be like, hey, we got to give up Rodgers because he wants out. Guess what? We'll bring in this guy. Guys, that's going to do it. Again, NFL draft coming up at the end of April. We're going to have more content coming out about that in probably the next couple of weeks. We'll give you our takes on who's the best quarterback, receiver, running back, defensive position players. We'll give you all that jazz. And, of course, we'll have our mock draft leading up to the draft. So, keep your eyes open for that. That's Bradshaw. That's Luca. That's Jeff. I'm Nolan. This is the Cover 4 Podcast. See you guys soon.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Lingo Sports and Lingo News for a whole lot more just like this.